Hey friends, welcome to the Swing My Heart podcast with your hosts, Kristen,
Nicole,
and Hannah. Come join our porch swing conversations.
filled with lots of faith, hope, and heart. Hey Hearties, we're back with another episode, and today we will be recapping season 9, episodes 4 and 5. First off, episode 4, Straight from the Heart.
Elizabeth sees a new side of Lucas when a flu bug leaves her without a babysitter, and he volunteers to watch little Jack.
I love that synopsis. That's a great overall summary of this episode without giving too much away.
Yeah.
What did y'all think of this episode?
I liked it a lot, actually. It was pretty jam-packed. A lot of things happening all at once in this one. I would probably rate it a 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
I agree. Definitely a very jam-packed episode. Definitely some very sweet moments in there that was very nice to see. I'd probably give it close to like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for sure. It's very good.
Yeah. Do we want to just get right into it with the recap?
Yeah.
All right. So the episode starts with May looking at the bulletin board and talking to Rosemary. I loved this brief little scene between the two of them. It was really a great moment.
Yes.
Of how they're making use of the bulletin board already. Like it's already becoming kind of a staple in Hope Valley. Like people are actually really using it. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. I loved Rosemary's line in that scene when she said, "It's still only twice a week, but we're working to be right up there with the Herald. Only better."
She's so confident.
Yeah.
It's always.
Yeah. Lucas and Henry, they have a conversation, and Henry read Elizabeth's book. Yay, he read the book.
I'm so glad he brought that up because I know in the episode before this, when we saw that little clip of him reading it, I was like, I really want to know like what he's actually thinking about it. So it was really nice to see that he brought that back up to Lucas because Lucas was the one who told him about it. So I love that.
Yeah. He says, if her intention was to base him on me, I'm afraid I fall short of the character. Lucas says, Elizabeth thinks very highly of you. A lot of people here do. And then Henry says, reading the book gave him a moment of clarity.
I want to know what's in this book. I want to read this book.
I do too.
Definitely. Like we're hearing more and more like bits and pieces of it. I'm like, I really want to know what she said. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Like Hallmark, come on, let's get it.
I
going.
know.
Let's write the book. Come on.
Yes.
Can this book be a thing?
Yes.
Henry says that he will be staying with the company if Smith and his investors decide to accept the offer.
Dun, dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun.
Oh boy.
More on that later.
Yeah. I love this next scene when Elizabeth calls Florence from Lee and Rosemary's home. Although, it's kind of disappointing that Elizabeth is stuck without a babysitter and, hearing that both Laura and Robert are sick, but it was still kind of comical with little Jack in the background, messing with Lee and Rosemary's stuff.
Right.
Getting into everything.
Yeah, I loved her line, right as she's hanging up. She says, "No, Jack, don't touch that." Lucas goes to the mercantile, and I can't remember what he was doing in the mercantile. Ned was talking to him about something. Do y'all remember?
Something about the price of stamps going down.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I
guess
something about stamps.
He
wanted to mail a letter, I think.
Yeah.
And that's why Ned was like, yeah, the price of stamps are going down because I think Lucas hands Ned the letter.
Yeah. He overhears how Elizabeth needs a babysitter for little Jack because, Florence comes up to tell Ned.
I think it's so hilarious that Florence was the one, of course, share that bit of information. At first I was like, why doesn't Lucas already know this? And then I was like, why is Florence telling him? I was like, it's just kind of that little bit of comedy in that scene just because of Florence. Florence knows everything and she's always somebody in town. So she's always knows what's going on. So I thought that was
The next scene is Lucas going to Elizabeth's house and offering to watch little Jack. I did love this scene. This is a really cute moment between them.
Oh yeah, calling each other buddy.
Yes. Lucas comes in and he and Elizabeth are talking and he says, "You're in a bind and Jack and I are going to have so much fun. Right, buddy? Right, buddy?"
His little giggles are so cute.
Yes.
Are
I wrote,
so
when he tried to do the handstand or whatever, like who wants to do yoga with little Jack?
Yeah. So cute. I love it.
So sweet.
And that Violet doing that there. He's just, he's just being a typical kid, typical toddler, he's just doing that. So cute.
I know. I'm so glad they got it on camera.
I know.
They could use it,
Right.
Yeah.
So cute. I also thought it was interesting in this scene. I thought it was funny how Lucas was like, me, like I can do it. And Elizabeth is just so focused on what she's doing. She doesn't realize that that's what he's saying. He's like, no, me. Yeah. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like Lucas volunteering to watch little Jack? What?
Yeah.
I also thought it was sweet, the kiss that they shared and then how he held her face in his hands. That was really sweet.
Yeah, they're cute.
Oh yeah, and then the comments about the ice cream.
Oh, right.
When Elizabeth's like, "No ice cream," and he's like, "No ice cream? At least not for today." It's starting to become all he wants to eat.
Yes, so much ice cream. I can only imagine.
Right.
Why not? It's new in town. Give them the business.
Yeah, exactly. Lucas playing Safari with little Jack. That was adorable.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
So cute. Do you guys know the actor Matthew Broderick?
Yes.
He plays Ferris Bueller, and then he's also the voice of adult Simba in The Lion King. And
oh, wow.
I thought that Chris McNally sounded like Matthew Broderick. So then when they were playing Safari and he was pretending to be a lion, I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know if they did that like on purpose. Like, I don't know if that's a thing, but I was just like, wow, this really this seems so cool.
I completely forgot about that. And he's also in that movie with Zac Efron that I really like, 17 Again.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he plays the older version of Zach's character.
Mm-hmm.
They talking to Nathan at the jail. This was a funny scene. She walks in and she's just like, "Ollie, Ollie, oxen free." He's like, "I don't think that's how jail works. I've never seen the inside of a jail before. It's kind of depressing. That's how jail works."
Mm-hmm.
Makes you think twice about doing something to wind up here. So then why are you here?
This was good witty banter between them.
Yeah.
Right. It was almost bringing me back to the little bit of mystery that's still behind May Sue that we don't know.
Yes.
It's kind of like, May, what? Why are you talking like this? Like,
I
feel like something behind that. Something suspicious is going on here still.
Yes. I wrote down, is this a type of foreshadowing? Because we know coming up, she tells Bill that she's sort of a fugitive.
Right.
And so I was just like, oh, I wonder if this is, I hope not, but I was just like, oh, this is a little spot on,
Right. Yeah. I don't think she did anything intentionally. Right. But I do think she was caught in a situation that maybe makes her think like, oh my, I could have been in this situation. Who knows?
Yeah.
She asks Nathan to join her to help with Newton.
Did you guys notice that she called him Newt? Has she been calling him Newt, or is this new?
I feel like when it first started, they were calling him Newt, and then all of a sudden it switched to Newt. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just remembering from last season because it was always Newton.
Yeah,
and I feel like Newt originated somewhere. Honestly, I feel like the Hardys started calling him that, and then they just decided to use it up.
Yeah.
But I do think it's very interesting that May calls him that. Like Nathan is the only one who calls him that. So I was like, that's interesting. I don't know where she got that from, but Yeah.
It's cute. Yeah.
Lee and Rosemary have a conversation in their office. And Lee's like, am I ever going to get to write about something else? Rosemary assigns him an article about Hickam and what he has planned for Hope Valley as mayor. Lee's like, do you really think I would have made a good mayor? And then Lee says, Lee Coulter, when have I ever not been honest with you? You're my wife. It's hard to be objective. Perhaps, but just because I think you hung the moon and stars doesn't mean I wouldn't tell you the truth. Even if it hurt, I might just give you a kiss to make you feel better.
Oh,
These two, I love these two.
I know, they're the best.
They're just the cutest. They're so sweet. I love them. I do feel bad for Lee though, that he's the one who had to go,
Me
talk to
too.
Hickam, because he's still having a hard time with the fact he wasn't picked to be mayor. So I was like, poor Lee, but it is a good opportunity for Lee to, talk with Hickam and kind of get used to the situation, because he's gonna have to get used to it eventually. So
yeah, totally agree. At first I thought it was a little bit like insensitive maybe of Rosemary, but it worked out.
I love the next scene with Molly talking to Bill in his office, and they're having a conversation about cutting the office in half because Hickam needs one too as mayor. Molly watching Bill analyze Wyman's gun was hilarious.
Yes, it was. The questioning.
I love
so
that.
Funny.
Yes.
Right. And once again, I love any scene with these two together. I really do. I was like, we're finally getting one this season, like something like more. And then I was like, okay. But like, of course, it's humorous, as only Molly could do. So, and then Bill, so serious all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill was like, Molly, you said you've been interested in interior design. And then, she stands up and asks him to hold the tape measure. Oh my gosh.
Bill just gives her that look like, how dare you interrupt me? So
yeah.
I know. Joseph and Minnie at the cafe. He's considering asking Lee for a raise or maybe selling part of the business. Minnie goes on to say, with Clara gone, she's been wondering the same thing about herself in the cafe. The things are still progressing with the cafe.
Right?
Yes.
Things are still shifting.
Shifting, that was the word I was trying to think of.
Yeah.
I would be happy to see her take over the cafe.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Especially since, Claire is gone and Bill's so busy as like a judge, he really is too busy to be running a cafe, and that's not even what he's passionate about.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I definitely love that. I feel like the cafe definitely gives Minnie purpose.
Totally.
Like, she feels very fulfilled in that, and I think it makes her central part of the community too. So, I would be all for her taking over the cafe.
Yes. Yeah. And if Joseph took over for the sawmill, that would give Lee more time for the Valley Voice.
Yeah.
Right. Which I will say, it is kind of weird that we haven't really heard Lee talk about the sawmill at all. Like they're spending so much time on the paper. I'm like, what about the sawmill? Like,
I know.
Talked about it. Like, come on, like give us something.
Yes, because it's been such a big part of the show.
Like, I mean, I feel like it would be hard to see Lee let that go, though.
I know.
I feel like I still want to see him, doing stuff at the sawmill. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's been doing it for so long, but I feel like that's his thing,
Yes.
So,
I mean, it's his sawmill, and his sawmill saved Coal Valley at the time.
Yeah, it did. So I would hate to see it go, sure.
Lucas in town with little Jack. I loved seeing him pull the wagon. That was really sweet. Telling him the story about the crooked man. I don't have the words written down, but
it's a nursery rhyme, which this is kind of a interesting choice of nursery rhymes for.
Right. I know. I was a little confused. Like, of all the things he could be reciting to little Jack, why this?
I know. I'm sure it symbolizes something.
Yeah,
I just can't quite figure it out yet.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't either.
Maybe Wyman Walden?
Possibly.
Right.
Crooked man.
I mean, parties who are listening to this, if anybody knows, please tell us in the comments.
Yes.
What you think that represents, because I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, there's always some foreshadowing or some subtext, I guess would be the right word, for things in episodes.
Oh yeah, they definitely don't pick these things on accident. There's like a purpose,
Yeah. Faith and Molly in the infirmary. The infirmary is getting a telephone.
Mm-hmm.
Faith and Molly trying to move the desk around. That was hilarious. They move it one place and then they move it another place and then they move it back.
Yes.
I feel like that's so relatable though. Like as somebody who
Totally.
loves like designing like homes and stuff and like decorating, that's totally relatable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is that called? Is it called feng shui? Like when you move furniture around in certain ways? Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I've heard the term.
It's like a style of like moving your furniture around.
I think so.
And it just kind of gave me that vibe, like, oh, she's just trying to like, you know.
I loved Molly and Faith's line in the scene when she asks, "What do you think about forensics?" And then, Faith's like, "Well, I think until we get this office in shape, you should stick with interior design."
I love though how that thought originated in the office with Bill.
Yes. Molly's totally right for the Valley voice. Like she's inquisitive. She's a busybody. She's like Florence, you know. She likes to hear the gossip. I think that would be something cool for her to do. Help out Lee a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Although I would really like to see her, as Faith was saying, maybe just focus on the interior design right now. I would love to see her do that. I'd love to see that in Whole Valley.
Yeah, that's something totally new that we haven't really explored yet. That would be so fun.
So like Molly, please stick with this. Just try it for a little
bit.
Then you'll give it a try.
Yeah, I agree. Hope Valley needs an interior designer.
Yes.
May working with Newton and her conversation with Nathan. She says, "We all have limitations. I think what's important is learning to accept them and to rely on someone we trust when we fall short."
This was a good scene.
Words from Maysu. I love that.
Yes. I love their bonding.
Yes.
And seeing Nathan smile is always so great.
Yes.
Yeah, he definitely needs that. And I love how May just knows exactly what to say.
Yeah.
Like, get him to, perk up and to just, and like, kind of the light bulb turned on for him in that moment too, I feel. So
yeah.
That was definitely a sweet moment there for sure between friends.
Nathan bonding with Newton, that was really sweet. I loved that.
Once again, May working her Amy magic.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Horse whisperer.
Oh, yes.
Elizabeth outside the school with her students. I loved this scene. When they all see Lucas and Cooper was like, "Mrs. Thornton, is that Mr. Bouchard over there with little Jack?" or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they all stand up, or not all of them, but a few of them stand up, Opal, and they're watching Lucas with little Jack. And then Emily's line, "Are you getting married?" And then Opal's like, "When?" And then Emily's like, "Are you?"
Typical children. They're so innocent. Like they don't really realize what they're doing and how embarrassing that is. They're just so excited.
Yes, they are.
Their enthusiasm.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? In season 2, I believe, Emily was the one that asked Elizabeth, "Are you and Constable Thornton getting married?"
Yep.
What is up with these kids being so curious about their teacher getting married?
I know, those little matchmakers. Like,
I know.
I guess they started young in Whole Valley.
Yes.
Elizabeth's first conversation with Mr. Landis. And this is like right after the scene with her students. And he comes up and he kind of saves the day from the marriage comment. And she says, "Mr. Landis, expecting another storm?" I wrote foreshadowing ? Because
Yep.
Elizabeth received her certification to teach Angela, but he says that they can't recognize accreditation from outside the district and that her certification is worthless. Boo. That's baloney.
I know. And he's so unsympathetic about it. He's like, "Oh, it's worthless." I was like, really? Why did you have to say it like that?
I know, right? Like, way to rub it in.
I know.
I mean, I know that.
Oh boy.
I know that you have to like travel by stagecoach and train to get to Hamilton, but I mean, how far is Hamilton from Hope Valley? I mean, it can't be that far.
Right.
I mean, where else is she supposed to, get that accreditation? Like, like where, like, I mean, he's not helping the situation. He could have told her, like, "Hey, you can go here," but no.
Yeah.
at all.
He could have recommended something to her.
Yeah.
He's just like, nope, sorry, deal with it.
I know. Ugh. Lucas and little Jack run into Rosemary in town. This was a cute scene.
Oh my gosh, I love this scene.
Me too.
You know, he's asking Rosemary why little Jack could be a little fussy. Rosemary says that she doesn't think he looks sick. It could just be his 3-year-old molars coming in. And then Rosemary's like, when in doubt, ice cream. And, Lucas is like, no.
Can we talk about that pig Latin for a minute?
Yes.
That was so impressive.
I know. First he's speaking French, like really good French, angry French, and now he's speaking fast pig Latin. Like, come on. Like,
I know.
Props to Chris McNally for that. Like,
yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't even write the Latin down because I was just like, I'm not going to even attempt to say this.
I am so glad I had my captions on, or I wouldn't have been able to understood any of that.
I got most of it. I think I got what he was saying, but then when Rosemary starts speaking pig Latin, I was like, okay, you kind of lost me there, girl.
Yeah.
like of course Pascal would get it too. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rosemary did a good job too. I was like, way to go,
So
Rosemary.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. Way to go, Pascal, as well. Props to her and Chris for that.
Rosemary suggests that he should take little Jack to see Faith.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what's wrong. Lee and Hickam have a conversation in the saloon. Hickam ran on fire safety. Lee ran on progress, encouraging people to step boldly into a brighter tomorrow. Bill ran on preservation. When Lee said the comment about stepping boldly into a brighter tomorrow, Norman with his comment about being bold.
That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. That's so good.
I didn't catch it the first time. Like, I didn't even think about it the first time, but when I watch it back, I immediately thought of that.
Oh, that's so funny. That's a good catch.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Hickam doesn't appear to have any plans as mayor.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
What?
How can a mayor not have plans for his town?
I know. It doesn't look very promising for Hickam.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like, you're not selling your case here, buddy. Like,
No.
you're not doing some fee favors whatsoever.
I mean, he's a good guy, of course.
He is.
But
He is. And you really see that in episode 5, which we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
But in this episode, I was like, okay, Hickam, you're not helping yourself here.
Mm-mm.
You're really not.
Elizabeth at the school teaching her students in her short conversation with Cooper. The scene she was teaching was on gravity, and I feel like that was a callback to season 1 with the shoe drop scene.
Yeah.
Good
That's
catch.
Good catch.
Thank you. Lucas talking to Faith at the infirmary about little Jack. She says that his gums are a little inflamed from permanent first molars coming in earlier than usual. And, she says that they usually come in around 5 years. Lucas wants to check with Elizabeth before getting a prescription, which I really loved. He didn't just immediately say, oh, we'll take a prescription for little Jack.
Yeah. It was nice to see this side of Lucas, this kind of concerned, worried,
Yeah.
It's really nice to see that growth there. He definitely cares about little Jack. So that's really
I love Faith's comment, when she says, you could always try ice. And Lucas is like, he's not allowed. He's not allowed to have ice? Ice. Yes, we could try ice.
Poor Lucas.
I know, bless his heart.
So hard.
He's so tired of people recommending ice cream. He's just like, he's got ice cream on the brain.
Right.
He's like, we can't have ice cream.
No ice cream. He's trying so hard to because he really wants to give it to him. He really wants to give it and let little Jack have it. But he knows he's not supposed to. So he's like, nope, not even gonna let that enter my mind.
Yeah.
Don't tempt me.
Yeah. He notices the telephone, and Faith notices that he's kind of lost in space, I guess would be a term you could use. And She says, Lucas, children go through all kinds of different growing pains, some of them big, most of them little. Relax, you're doing a wonderful job with little Jack. Do you think so? I know so.
Yeah, it's a good scene. He just
Yeah.
needed a little bit of reassurance that he was doing the right thing.
Right. I love how like Faith could just see that too. Like
Yeah,
she was
picked up
just
on
very
it.
tuned in, and she was able to say just the right thing. I love that.
Yeah. What did y'all think about the scene with Bill talking to Lee and Rosemary in their office? And they're discussing Wyman Walden, and Bill says he's going to be back. The question is why? What's this guy after? He's headed to Brookfield. Rosemary has a confidential source there. I love Lee's line. He's like, you have a confidential source? Rosemary's like, yes, one in Benson Hills, one in Brookfield, 2 in Union City and Jameson. All good newspaper men and women have their confidential sources.
Yes.
Oh boy.
She could totally tell Lee who her source is.
Right. Like, come on, Rosie. What's up with that?
He works there. He's her husband. Like,
come on.
You can trust him.
I was like, poor Lee. Like, come on, Rosie. But I mean, obviously, when I hear Brookfield, my ears perk up. Like, Brookfield, yay! And then I'm like, who is this confidential shorts? And then I saw like some Hardys on Instagram were saying that it could possibly be Maggie.
I saw that too.
I really like that theory because she's been known to do some reporting here and there. So like I feel like that could be definitely a possibility. And then that makes me want to see Rosemary go to Brookfield again, or Maggie come to Hope Valley, because I feel like Maggie and Rosemary could be good friends.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like that theory. That's a good theory.
I love that theory. I love that theory too. So shout out to the Hardy who mentioned that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, definitely. I definitely think Rosemary should share that information with Lee. And also the fact that, Bill is so concerned about Walden. I mean, some drama is coming, because he also makes that comment about, like, they're like, why are you so concerned about this? And he's like, well, he's going to have to take his gun with him.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Buckle up, guys. Here we go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I love how after Bill leaves, Lee just throws the paper in his hands on Rosemary's desk. And he's like, Michael has no plan or vision for Hope Valley and its future. Rosemary's like, he said that? Not in so many words. What did he say? Not so many words. Well, it must be daunting becoming mayor.
A little bit of perspective. I like that, because Rosemary's got to be like, all right, just remember, this is a big task that Hickam has, so cut him a little bit of slack.
Right.
Yeah. I love the next scene with Nathan talking to Ned and May in the mercantile. At first it's just Nathan and Ned, and then May comes in. Nathan is returning his hat because it's too big. He asks May to dinner as a thank you for helping with Newton.
Yeah.
He does not take no for an answer.
No, good on him.
As Nathan is leaving, he looks at Ned and he's like, do not mention this to Florence.
That was the best line. I loved that.
I love that too, especially knowing what happened the episode previous. Florence was giving him a hard time. So like that comment was deserved.
Yes.
Thank you, Nathan, for that.
Yes.
And I love Ned's like, no, I won't.
Yeah.
He's like, not a word, Nathan.
Right. I love Kevin McGarry's facial expression there. He just delivered that line perfectly.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So good.
Elizabeth's second conversation with Mr. Landis said this is, outside, not like at the front of the school, but at the side of the school. He says there's nothing he can do about her accreditation. Elizabeth says, why are you being so unreasonable? He says, please don't take this personally. Believe me, I'm not being punitive. You have no jurisdiction here, and yet you behave as though you do. And then, they start talking over each other. Mr. Landis says, well, that won't be the case when the influx of new students and workers begin to arrive to build the foundry. And, Elizabeth says, I understand that things are going to change, which is why I'm trying to work with you. But Mr. Landis, she's like, screaming his name pretty much. She's like, Mr. Landis.
Yes.
That was surprising. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Me either.
Like,
This is
wow,
very
she's
specific.
shouting at him with the door open. I
Yeah.
all the kids can hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
My goodness.
After she says that, she goes on to say, until there are more students, this is still my school under my authority. Please leave.
You tell him, Elizabeth. You tell him.
Atta girl.
There you go.
Yes. Mr. Landis goes to leave, but his hat was glued to the desk.
Okay. Is this like some type of fast acting glue? Because she was only outside with him for like 30 seconds. And this hat is already like glued to the table. Like,
right.
I was like, what?
I know. It's Hope Valley. Did they even have that back then?
I don't know. All the kids, they're laughing, and then she tells them to stop. And Mr. Landis is not happy, of course. I mean, who would be happy about that? Yeah. And I can't remember his line, but Elizabeth said, as you said, Mr. Landis, these are my students. Be assured I will handle this matter. Scary teacher face.
Yes.
Hashtag scary teacher face.
I love the conversation with Elizabeth and Rosemary at the school. Rosemary's comment when she says, Lucas will make a wonderful father. And then, Elizabeth looks at her like, what are you doing? Yeah. And Rosemary's like, don't give me that look. You obviously feel the same way. Yes, but perhaps you could slow my trip down the aisle just a bit. And then Rosemary humming the wedding march.
Yeah.
As they're walking down the aisle.
Yes. That's exactly what I was going to say.
As
they're walking down. So perfect.
We get to the scene with May asking Bill to be her attorney because she is a fugitive of sorts from her husband.
Oh boy.
Or is he her husband?
I know.
I don't
that
know.
is the question of the season.
Yes.
Is he? Which I don't know. I have a feeling it's
I'm not
something
sure.
else. Something else going on there. I mean, if it is, I have a feeling it wasn't necessarily something she wanted.
Yeah.
Something she maybe had to do.
Yeah. I love her line when she tells him, you may want to take notes.
I want to see those notes.
Yes.
Right. Tell us more.
Yes. Bill, share the notes with us, please.
Right. At this point, Bill's the only one who knows. So it's
Yeah.
This next scene is one of my favorites in the episode. Elizabeth arrives home and sees Lucas with little Jack, and then her conversation with Lucas after. He is reading Robin Hood to him, before he goes down for his nap. And after he finishes the story, Lucas says, "Good night, buddy." And little Jack's like, "Good night, buddy."
Oh, adorable.
so cute.
Yeah. Cute.
And as he's reading the story, Elizabeth is standing right outside the door. This reminded me so much of season 2 when Jack was standing right outside the door as Elizabeth was telling Patrick the story.
Yes.
On the homestead.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
I also noticed that the drawing Jack gave Elizabeth in season 1 is still hanging up.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Excuse me while I go cry a puddle of tears.
I know. It's like, thank you. It's still there.
Lucas comes right down the stairs behind her and he says, "How long were you listening?" "Long enough to know that I feel more for you than I realized, and I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't offered to help. You would have thought of something." And the forehead kiss. That was sweet.
Yes, very sweet.
I melt at forehead kisses.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very sweet.
So sweet.
Nathan and May have dinner at the saloon. I loved this scene. It was really short, but I still loved it.
Yeah, it was a little too short. I was like, come on, show us other stuff, come on.
Yes.
I was
Not just
expecting
that one conversation.
I was expecting more than that, but that's all right.
Yeah. I do love his line.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming. This is the first time someone has actually came to a dinner with him. Like, this is a big deal for him. Even if, they are just friends, it is a big deal for him because I feel like he's been kind of feeling a little sad and down there. And so it was nice to see that somebody actually came to, sit down and have dinner with him.
Yeah, totally.
Lucas and Elizabeth at her home after dinner. I was totally not expecting the I love you.
Me either. I gasped so loud.
I literally gasped. I was like,
I was so shocked.
I
know. Then I was like on the edge of my seat for the next 5 minutes after that.
I love how she called him darling too. That was so cute.
Oh yeah.
Swoon.
The hand holding, after he wakes up.
Yes.
Like right before he leaves. That was sweet.
Yeah.
The double goodnight kiss. That was probably one of my favorite parts of the scene. They share a kiss and then they stand there and they look at each other for a minute and then they go in for another kiss.
Like, I know, it's like Lucas was asleep when she said that, but it was almost as if like his subconscious knew.
Heard it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Like they just had those looks. There was just, you could tell something had shifted.
Yes.
Between them in that moment.
Yeah. I was expecting him to have heard it.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like waiting to see if he was going to say anything.
Right.
He didn't, and
well, you know they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it a really special moment when he finally does say it. But
yes.
But I mean that. But that moment, and then leading to the next moment. Oh my gosh!
He gets attacked. I was like
that. I was like, what?
I know. Pow! Right.
I know. Right there.
I was not expecting it right after that scene. I was like,
I was just like, no, Lucas, no.
I know. Came out of nowhere. My jaw hit the floor as fast as Lucas hit the ground.
I know. My heart was pounding. I was like, what just happened? Like, we knew something was going to happen to him because we'd seen it in like the preview that he had a black eye, but I was not expecting it there.
I know. Me either.
I was like, oh my gosh, like somebody was hiding in the shadows. That's kind of creepy too.
That's so creepy.
I'm like, who do you guys think that is? I mean,
it kind of looked like Walden.
I mean, that's what I thought too. I feel like
definitely not Spurlock.
It is. Yeah, no.
Because it looked like the hat that the guy was wearing looked like one that Wyman wears.
Right. Yeah, I think I saw like his shoes and like a little bit of his pants or something. It definitely looked kind of like something Walden would wear.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously Lucas, that's who Lucas thinks it is too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then, he was also out of town. So I'm not sure. Unless he came back early. I don't know.
And then left again.
Could be sneaking around. The plot thickens.
The plot thickens, for sure.
Ugh, poor Lucas, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I definitely felt for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. The next scene is when Elizabeth finds out that he got the black eye. He's like, I walked into a door. I wrote, Elizabeth isn't buying it.
No.
No. I mean, I wouldn't have let him get away with that. I would have been like, kept like probing, like, you need to know what happened now. I know, like, she did a very good job of like not doing it, but it's like, come on, girl, just get it out of him. Like, come on.
Yeah. She said, so we're not going to even discuss this? He's like, no, we're not, because you need to go to school, and Jack and I, we need to go sailing. I love how he gave him the toy boat. That was really sweet.
I know, yeah.
And then he talked about her father. I thought that was very sweet too.
And they're going to get ice cream later.
Finally.
Family date. Or a future family date.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Elizabeth talking to her students at the school. She tells them that she'll be apologizing to Mr. Landis. And it was Cooper who glued the hat, like she thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was big of Cooper to raise his hand and to say that he did it in front of the entire class. He could have waited until after. I mean, she kind of, probed it out of them a little bit and just waited, but I thought it was big of Cooper to, own up to what he did.
Yeah. I do too. The next scene with him and Joseph and Minnie and Elizabeth. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh.
That was intense.
Yeah. Cooper says, I'm not sorry. Mr. Landis does nothing but make trouble for everyone, especially you and Angela. Elizabeth says, Mr. Landis and I will do our best to solve our problems, but that isn't going to happen until we respect one another. Cooper says, I'd still do it over again. You'll never understand. You know, he's talking to his dad. And Joseph says, I'll never stop trying to, and I'll always be here if you want to explain.
That was a great response, I think, from Joseph.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It was super shocking when Cooper said that he'd do it again, like, and that he wasn't sorry.
I know.
Like, whoa, Cooper.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, calm down, buddy. Calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are some bold words.
Yes.
Also, just to get a little off topic for a second, I also noticed she still has the cowbell.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Aww. Yeah.
Cooper giving Elizabeth a hug, and he says, I'm sorry if I made trouble for you, Mrs. Thornton. I'm sorry.
That was really sweet.
It was so sweet.
I was crying at this scene. I mean,
yeah, it's emotional.
Yeah. What did y'all think of the next scene with Bill talking to Gabe on the phone?
I was like, Gabe. They mentioned Gabe. I was like,
I know, me too.
All for that. I love Gabe. I was all for that. I was like, I need to see Gabe. I mean, I thought this before, but was like, now I really need to see Gabe and hope.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
When Walden left town, one of the merchants was found shot. He's still alive but unconscious. No one knows if it was Walden who did it. The Mounties think he was running the same property scheme or scam that he ran on Jesse and Clara.
Yikes.
Oh boy.
I'm curious to know if that was Walden who shot the guy.
I know. I still can't quite figure out. Like, I'm not trying to think the right word. I'm still not convinced that he's completely a bad guy.
Yeah.
There's still like a little mystery there, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something similar. Like, I definitely think, he is at fault in some ways, but I don't know that he would stoop that low. Like, I do think there's still some sort of good in him. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just, the way he portrays himself. And maybe it's also because, the actor did play Mandrake in Chesapeake. Yes. I loved him there, so I have a hard time seeing him as Walden, the bad guy in this, because I loved him in Chesapeake Shores. Yes. So it's like, maybe it's that. I don't know. It's just, I definitely feel like there's something else going on here. Maybe Walden's not completely to blame for everything. Definitely to blame in some respects. Definitely.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see.
We saw some of this next scene in the preview from last week, or 2 weeks ago, actually. But what are your thoughts on the scene when Walden and Spurlock come back into town?
Oh boy.
Lucas asks Henry to watch little Jack, and Spurlock, as he got out of the car, he says, do we have a problem? Nathan says, Spurlock, the only problem is that you still don't realize that there's a problem. Way to go, Nathan.
Spurlock, I know. Now, Spurlock, that's another story for me. I do not like him at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. And especially since his last name is Spurlock.
Spurlock.
I went with the other Spurlock. So...
And he's related to the Spurlock that almost killed Elizabeth.
That's what I'm saying. I do not like Spurlock. Walden, the jury's still out. Spurlock, no.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah.
No.
Bill wants Wyman's gun. Wyman says that he lost it. Okay, very convenient that he just lost his gun.
Sure.
Lost it.
Probably hiding somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
In the woods.
Right.
Lucas walks up and he says, gentlemen, if you intend on sending me some kind of message to try and intimidate me, I'm fine with that. but I'm warning you both not to go anywhere near Miss Thornton and her son.
Oh, I was like, Lucas, what did you just do?
Yeah.
I was like, no, Lucas, don't. I was just like, don't say it. And there's smirks when he said that to Lucas. You do not know what you just did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Why did they make that look? I want to know what that look was for.
Right. Because if they didn't have anything to do with it, they would be like, what are you talking about? You know, like they probably would have said something, but they both were just kind of like, okay, yeah.
See, now that smirk does make me be like, Walden's not a good guy.
Right, yeah.
I flip-flop. It's like sometimes Walden's really not a good guy. I was like, I don't know. He could, have some good. I don't know.
Yeah.
I did not like that smirk thought. I was like, that. I was like, Lucas, you just opened a whole can of worms right there.
Although I do like the protective side of him, when he was like, don't go anywhere near them.
Yeah.
I do too, but with bad guys, when you say don't do something,
they're gonna do it.
Yeah, they don't take too kindly for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Nathan addresses Lucas and he says, Lucas, everything all right? Everything's aces, Constable.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting that no one else has asked Lucas about his black eye? Like, wouldn't that be super suspicious? Like, Lucas, of all people, has a black eye?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I did not think of that. You're right.
Yeah.
Nobody else did ask him about that.
Mm-hmm. I'd be suspicious. I mean, especially because, like, Nathan, told him in a previous episode, like, you're not a fighter. You're more of a, what does he say? Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Elizabeth at her home. Again, we see the drawing that Jack gave her. And then I also love in the foreground how it's a photo of her and Lucas. So it's like,
yeah, I noticed that
past
too.
and future.
Oh, yeah.
Or past, present, and future.
Yeah.
She hears and sees the phone. That was funny. She's like, where is that coming from?
Hello?
What?
She goes to meet Lucas and little Jack for ice cream. This was a cute scene.
Yeah.
She says she doesn't want a telephone. Lucas says he'll have it taken out. And then she goes on to say to wait on having it taken out.
Yes.
Can we just talk about what Lucas considers arguing?
Yeah.
So agreeable. I'm just like, come on, buddy. Like, he's so agreeable. I mean, it's cute, but at the same time, like, come on, Lucas. Like, give us something.
I know. He was not putting up a fight at all.
No, I'm like, come on, Lucas.
She was expecting it too. Like, she just kept going. Right. He was just quick with whatever you want, dear.
Yeah. Also, the comment from Lucas when they're talking about the phone, he says, especially in an emergency. Was that foreshadowing?
Totally.
Big foreshadowing.
Oh, yeah. This makes me so nervous.
I know.
Because now we have a telephone in the infirmary.
Oh, boy.
Which, shouldn't they have had a telephone a long time ago?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think?
That should have been like the first place to have a telephone.
Yes. Yeah. So now there's a telephone there. There's one in Elizabeth's home. And so I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm so nervous.
I'm nervous for her and little Jack.
Yes.
The comment about the ice cream from Elizabeth and little Jack, that was adorable. She says, this is very delicious. Isn't this ice cream so good? And he's like, so good.
So cute.
I love the next scene with Bill and Hickam in Bill's office. He's reading another letter from Clara. Their goat doesn't like Jesse, and when Jesse had his back turned, Mags charged him and ripped the seam out of his pants.
Jesse.
This is so great. I love that we're still hearing from them.
Oh, me too. Good. Me too. Yeah.
I can actually see that scene in my head.
Me too.
Oh yeah, totally. That just gives me, like, for some reason, that just gives me flashbacks, because we mentioned it earlier when Elizabeth was watching the kids at the homestead with the cow.
Yes.
For some reason, I could see that sort of scene with Jesse and Clara, except with the goat. Like,
Yes.
that would just be funny. So weird.
Yeah. Hickam found his office, and he's going to be neighbors with Bill. And Bill doesn't seem too pleased about it.
Yeah, why not?
Thrilled. I know. But
He seems thrilled.
Oh my
is
goodness.
it just me, or is Bill like really extra this season?
He
Like,
is extra, especially in this next episode, guys.
Yeah.
Let me just say.
like, I know. Oh my gosh. Like, Bill, what?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
I know. Second of all, Molly said something about not being able to cut his office in half. He has the biggest office in Hope Valley. How is it not big enough to split into two?
I don't know.
And there's more rooms in it too that we never get to see. So like, come on, like you can see it in the background. But I was gonna say that like he is like so extra this season. I was gonna say it must be the fact that Walden and Spurlock is in town. It must be just
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So fired up about it that it's just bleeding into other parts of his life, because he's being a little much this season.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Like, come on, put a smile on your face, Bill. Come on. Come on, it's not that hard.
Joseph and Minnie have a conversation outside the cafe. They're talking about what to do with Cooper. And then a car drives up, and Joseph sees the front of the car, notices the front end damage, and he greets the guy getting out of the car, and I think he says, is that your car? And the guy doesn't respond. He just keeps walking.
Oh man.
And then he just starts running.
Yes. He's like, hey, sir. Way
Joseph
to go.
Hit and run.
Oh, way to
He
go.
took off too.
I know.
Yeah.
Was I the only one, or like I was a little surprised we didn't really get to see his face, or like I thought there was gonna be more to the story. Like I thought it was gonna be somebody else. Like maybe he comes back. I don't know. But I was like, we didn't even really get to see the guy. It was like he caught him and then they put him in the thing and you couldn't even like see him. I was like, huh. Like I would have liked to see like that conversation, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, between him and Nathan.
Yeah.
Like when Nathan finally meets this guy, It's like, but good on Joseph for catching him.
Yes.
Way to go. And Cooper was so thrilled. He's like, my dad caught the hit and run suspect. Woohoo!
I love that. He was like a little hype man for his dad.
Right. It was sweet.
So cool.
Also, I know that it's not him because there was already mention of him getting married to Rachel a few episodes ago. But did the guy look like Christopher?
He does.
Like, is that just me?
Yes, he does. Look like him.
Yeah, I mean, from what we saw,
Yeah.
Definitely was dressed similarly.
Exactly. Yeah, almost exactly the same, like the newsboy hat and everything.
Yeah.
I wonder if they just reused Christopher's costume.
Ooh,
they could have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's him. I mean,
no, definitely not.
It was still interesting though. Like the guy really reminded me of him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I love Nathan and May's conversation. She walks up to him and she wants to know how his shoulder feels and if he's up to walk Newton by himself or if she should come along just in case. And they're talking and she says, so what did he say? The man who hit you. I didn't do it. I hear that's what most people in jail say. Is that right? Always.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I love this little flirty between them.
Yes.
I mean, if nothing else, at least they're building a good friendship, which I really like.
Totally.
Too. I really like that. I think they both need it right now where they're at.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. The last scene in the episode is Faith and Molly outside the infirmary. I loved this scene. She's talking about how she loves Elizabeth's book, but doesn't see herself in Dr. Hartner. Faith starts talking about Carson. Then Molly says that she's happy being single. And I think she says that, she has a happy life. with her job and her friends and her daughter. I love the mention of Rosaline.
Yes. I would love to see Rosaline back in Hope Valley.
Yeah.
I know.
Come on, where's Rosaline? Let's see her. Come on.
Faith gets a call from Carson, and then the episode ends. That very last shot was awesome.
It was.
The aerial shot, yeah.
That was so good. And I feel like too, because I feel like so many of the episodes end on like something really dramatic and a cliffhanger. It was such like a breath of fresh air to just see it end on like a happy note, and to just see it like panning out, like where you just kind of see like the town, and like it just seemed like everything was at rest and just like very cool. And I love that. Like I feel like that was such a change from the previous episodes. So that was nice.
Yeah, agree.
Totally agree. Okay, Hearties, on to episode 5, Journey into Light.
In this episode, School Inspector Augustus Landis is back in town and starts questioning Elizabeth's new accreditation to teach Angela. And Lucas and Nathan decide to have a race, animal versus machine.
Ooh.
This is going to be a great episode.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What did y'all think of this episode when you watched it?
I loved this episode. Yeah. I just feel like there was so much to unpack in this episode, but so many just really sweet scenes in this episode. Just like really strong, heartwarming scenes. I pretty much loved almost everything about this episode. It was so good.
Yeah. I agree. Same. I love how it was a little bit more centered around the Canfields, which was nice. And seeing, Mr. Landis in that atmosphere was really interesting.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Yes.
Yeah. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There were a few moments in the episode that really reminded me of season 1, When Calls the Heart.
Really?
I will say I definitely felt more of a vibe from getting back to the roots of When Calls the Heart. And I think it's really cool. Maybe that's just an attest to, Peter DeLuise, who wrote this episode.
Yes.
He really did a great job of tying kind of some of the elements from season 1 into this episode. So I love that. He did a great job.
I agree. Yeah. I did notice in this episode, and I'll probably talk about it more when we get to the actual scenes, but there was a lot of interesting, in a good way, camera angles that kind of were distracting, but again, in a good way, that we don't normally see in When Calls. And when we get there, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. But I was whoa, this is I'm not used to this. And I know the director has directed before, because I had to look it up, because I was like, is this a new director?
Neil Fernley.
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah, I believe he has directed a lot of them. I know he directed the season 4 Christmas movie.
Oh, okay.
If I'm correct. I would have to look it up for sure, but I'm pretty sure he did. Do we want to get right into it with the start of the episode?
Yes, let's dive right in.
We get another journal entry from Elizabeth, which I loved.
Yes.
Yes, very nice.
She says, I've heard people say that time flies, but the days drag on. And I've found that time does fly, especially when it comes to how fast my little boy is growing up. But I've also found that the days fly. So I try filling them with fun and adventure to encourage in Jack the kind of curiosity instilled in me as a child. And then Rosemary comes out of her home, and I can't remember what she said, but Elizabeth and little Jack greet her. Little Jack says, hi, Aunt Rosemary.
I know. I love that.
I love that too. That was so sweet. And I'm sure for Rosemary to hear that too is just, such a sweet moment. And I will say, back to the time flying, I love the little addition of the butterflies.
Yes.
Where she's talking about that scene. I thought that was just such a pretty moment, and really neat that they added.
Yeah. Nathan and Allie show up and have a little conversation with Elizabeth and Rosemary. Allie sees Jack and she says, Jack, you've gotten big. Someday you'll be big enough to ride a horse all by yourself.
It was so nice to see Allie back.
Yes.
No, finally. We've been waiting 5 episodes. We needed Allie. Where has she been?
Yes.
So nice to see her.
Yes.
They have a chat about their ride back from Rock Creek. Elizabeth let Nathan ride Sergeant, which I love. That was really nice of her to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Nathan and Allie, they leave to go to the soda fountain for some ice cream.
Of course.
And Rosemary stays for a few minutes longer and talks to Elizabeth. Then she says that she has to go to the paper for work that day. And Elizabeth and little Jack playing pirates. That was adorable.
That was so cute. Yo ho ho.
That makes me think of like several seasons back when I think it was it Timmy and Robert and one of the other. They were playing pirate ship on the dock.
Yes. Yeah. And he had like the little looking
glass. The looking glass and the hat. Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, season 5 or 6, maybe. I can't remember if it was after Dan left the show or before.
Dan I'm pretty sure was still on the show. The boys were pretty young then.
Yeah.
Okay, then it was probably season 5 because I don't remember it being in season 4. So season 5 would be my best guess.
Yeah.
Bill helps with a prisoner transport. So the hit and run suspect.
Mm-hmm.
He's being taken to Granville Penitentiary until he goes to trial. The mention of Granville Penitentiary is like a callback because that's been mentioned on the show before.
Right, definitely. Isn't that where they took Dylan too? I feel
maybe
you mentioned that, or maybe that was from season 7. Maybe that was the
I can't remember.
I don't know. It's definitely been mentioned before. I feel like we heard it pretty recently.
Yeah. It was also mentioned when Dan was still on the show. I think it was season 4 or 5, maybe the Christmas movie, but I can't remember.
Okay, one of those. It was definitely one of those. Maybe they've mentioned another one as well, but I definitely recognize that.
Yeah.
Joseph is helping Lee with something for Rosemary, and Lee wants it to be a surprise.
Ooh.
I actually missed that the first watch. I think when I watched it again, I was like, oh, that makes sense because later on we kind of see that he keeps sneaking off to he's saying he'll meet Joseph, but like I missed that first time, so I was like, oh, so like I was really surprised too. Like I had no idea what Lee was doing, and then I watched it again. I was like, it makes so much more sense now. Like okay, like I wish I would have realized that the first time I saw it.
Wow, because if you don't see that part, then you're just kind of like Rosemary. You're kind of like, what is going on?
Right, exactly. It was definitely Rosemary the first go around. I knew he was probably doing something for Rosemary. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Nathan and Allie, they get to the soda fountain and, he tells her to go inside and hang out with Cooper. And Bill walks up and Nathan is wondering what Lucas is doing, talking to Wyman. And of course, Bill is wondering the same thing.
Yeah. This is interesting. Like, I think it's kind of weird that, like, we had, the Lucas's threat at the end of the last episode, and now they're kind of like buddy, like shaking hands. Like, I just think that's kind of weird.
That is weird.
Unless he's going undercover, kind of like we mentioned in episode 3.
True. Yeah. I just wonder what that conversation is like. It's like, you just threatened me and now we're like shaking hands.
I know.
That is true. He did look very chummy with Walden. I was like, what's going on? Like, hello, Lucas, how are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't think Lucas is a bad guy in this, but I do wonder.
No, definitely not. It definitely goes back to that conversation with Jeanette somehow, which we don't know.
Totally. Yeah. This whole revelation of Wyman and Lucas and the whole, it's all going to be like, it's coming to a head, I feel like,
Yeah. I don't think he would put Elizabeth and little Jack in danger. I mean, especially like purposefully.
Right.
No, not intentionally.
Not intentionally. That's the word I was trying to think of. Intentionally.
This scene, the shot of Nathan looking out the window was the first thing that caught my eye, with this being like a different angle than what we're used to. Is, Lucas standing right in the middle of where the curtains meet. Yes. I was like, oh, I like this.
I love cool. That. I know. I love that. I was like, this is such a cool, like, little scene. First of all, I laughed because Lucas was like, why is Nathan watching?
Yeah.
And he's like, hello? I love that. That was so funny to me. But yes, I love the camera work there. That was so good.
Yes.
Yeah. I love how Lucas just like waves to Nathan. He's like, hello.
Yeah.
So funny. I love it. Love that.
Going back to the scene in the soda fountain, Allie is talking to May, and I think she is handing Allie a hairpin, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah, something for her hair. Yeah.
That confused me a little bit. Like in the pharmacy, like back then, did they like sell that type of stuff? I guess like beauty products in a pharmacy.
I think so. Yeah.
So we have a place, it's called Pitt Street Pharmacy. And when I was a little kid, my pediatrician, his office, it was on the same street, but his office was like a few buildings over from the pharmacy. And after I went to the doctor's office, you know, for checkups or, you know, if I wasn't feeling well, my mom would always take me to Pitt Street Pharmacy for a milkshake or like a burger or something. And I think they have beauty products there and stuff like that.
You know, back in that time period, though, I was like, that didn't even occur to me that, you know, that would be the type of stuff they would sell there. Like, you would think that would be at the Yosts. Like, you know, like, they would have that stuff. So it was just a little interesting. It was just a little confused at first. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. But, like, I wasn't really thinking about it. But I would have loved to see, like, you know, May and Allie's first interaction. Like, when they
I would have to.
Like, how did they get to that point where she's looking for a hair clips and she's giving her advice? Like, it seemed like they had known each other for a while.
Yeah, they hit it off so well.
They did. They really did.
Yeah.
I loved Allie's comment as she's looking over to Robert. She's like, there's just so many choices.
Not obvious at all.
No, not at all.
Like completely ignoring her.
But of course, to Robert, he's oblivious.
He's out. Yeah.
Nathan comes in and starts talking to them. He says, did she tell you how slow we rode? I didn't say a word, but we did ride awfully slow. Well, maybe you and I can go riding sometime. I race like the wind. And, you know, May kind of winks at Allie.
Yeah. Just ask little Jack. Yeah.
I loved when Faith comes in and sees Allie. You know, that was a really sweet moment.
Yeah.
Can we talk about this? How all of a sudden Faith is really chummy with Allie? Like, since when?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what is going on here? Like,
I know.
Like I'm like, there's something weird going on between, you know, this group. Like, I don't
know. I mean, I like their friendship. It's really sweet.
I like it too, but it's different. Like, this wasn't a thing prior to this season, so it's just like, I don't know. It's nice. I want Allie to have that woman interaction. It's really nice that, you know, people are paying attention to her. It's just a little interesting because it never happened before.
Yeah. Totally. I'm wondering, since Clara is gone, if maybe they're trying to figure out where to put Faith, like in a girl group, if that makes sense. Like,
that could be.
That's true. She could also feel bad because she knows what happened to Nathan too, and Allie wasn't there.
Yeah.
So she, you know, doing that. It's just a little bit strange.
Yeah.
Especially since there's an interesting dynamic between May and her and Nathan. So, I mean, nothing wrong with, you know, Nathan and his daughter getting a little bit of attention.
Yeah. Right. Totally.
It's definitely interesting.
Yes.
Not sure how I feel about it yet, but, you know.
I love the next part when Faith and May go off to put, I think it was a prescription away or something, like in the back. Mm-hmm. And once they're out of earshot, you know, Allie looks at Nathan and she's like, oh my gosh, she is so beautiful.
I know. I love that.
Nathan's like, you think so? Uh-huh. I haven't noticed. You're just like someone else I know. Mm-hmm. The man is working.
He has a point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But I love how Nathan's just trying to, you know, he does not know what to do with this situation. And we see it later. Like, he just has no idea how to handle it.
I love the next scene with Elizabeth and Rosemary when they're talking about the headline board. And then, you know, Lee shows up. All the headlines are being covered up by people's own personal notices. I wrote a couple of them down. looking to rent a room, wedding dress for sale, white lace worn once by mistake.
That was funny.
What does that even mean?
I know.
I don't know what that means. By mistake? What?
Yeah. Are you not married anymore, or like
What?
I don't know. Maybe it was the wrong dress.
Wrote it.
the marriage was a mistake?
Oh goodness.
Oh boy.
Rosemary is concerned Lee is tiring of her. I agree with Elizabeth. That's ridiculous.
I know. I feel so sorry for Rosemary. Part of me
Yeah.
is like, come on, Rosemary, it's Lee.
Right.
Like, come
Right.
on. You know.
Right.
But she's feeling insecure. And I think
Yeah.
that can be true to life. Sometimes we just
Yeah.
kind of feel insecure.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes when we get at those low points, sometimes even though like what we're thinking is totally not even rational, sometimes like the emotions take over, and obviously like she's going through that. So I definitely felt for her in this episode, but I was also like, come on, Rosemary, it's Lee.
yeah.
Yeah.
Never feel that way. You would never do
Right.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. I did feel for her though.
I did too.
Yeah.
I love Rosemary's comment when she says, I am delightful. I can be endlessly entertaining. Elizabeth's face was priceless.
No. I love that though, because it's so Rosemary, and that's what I love about her. I love those, those moments when she just like crazy herself.
Yeah.
So funny.
Ever since they started working together, Lee leaves the office early and comes home late. He's up and gone before Rosemary even wakes in the morning. And then, Elizabeth sees Lee approaching and she's like, Lee!
No.
And then
Like, they start talking, Rosemary.
yeah, they start talking. And Lee says, nothing like a brisk walk first thing in the morning. And then, Rosemary kind of like gives Elizabeth an arm nudge.
Yep.
Elizabeth's like, where do you enjoy walking? Well, here and there, everywhere. Anyway, I gotta get inside to work. Bye.
He kind of gives Rosemary a little look there too, like, I can't say anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Here and there and everywhere comment kind of reminded me of the line, I think it's in the Dr. Seuss book.
Yes, it's Dr. Seuss. Yeah. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, Dr. Seuss.
I love the scene with Minnie talking to Mr. Landis in the saloon and offering him a cranberry muffin, kind of extending an olive branch.
Yes. Yeah.
That was sweet.
Yeah. And I like the way that Natasha played it. Like, she wasn't like over the top, like trying to kill him with kindness, like passive aggressive. But she also wasn't like cold toward him either.
No.
She was like right in the middle, which I thought was a really good way to portray that.
Right, exactly. Yeah, she definitely she did it. She did it in a very good way that wasn't like, coming on too strong or trying to be overly overly zealous about it. She was just, she was just doing it. But you could still tell that, it was hard for her to do it.
Yes.
Like you can tell that she wasn't thrilled about it, but that she was trying. She was trying her best.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I loved the short little moment between Bill and Hickam in the saloon right after that. When he's talking about the tie, and then
once again, here we go, Bill being totally extra. Oh my gosh,
so frustrating.
Oh my god,
I felt so bad for Hickam in that moment. Like, okay, I'm not a huge fan of bow ties to begin with, but I was like, Bill, just leave him alone. The poor guy. Come on, he's so sweet. Like, just come on.
I know. Oh my goodness, chill out, Bill.
Chill. Yeah.
Elizabeth and Lucas's first conversation about the motorcycle. This was a cute scene.
With the hair. I think they're calling it the hair of glory or something like that.
Of course they are.
He says, please excuse the way I look. And she says, oh no, I like it. You look very rugged. As she's like brushing his hair out of his face.
Ooh.
It is a good look on him. It really is. I love seeing, him just like, just out, doing his thing, not all,
not so formal.
Not so formal. I love just a relaxed Lucas.
Yeah.
And with a little dirt on his face. I love that look. It's good.
He looks very handsome.
Yes.
Yeah, Lucas goes on to say, oh, I don't normally. Elizabeth says, Be quiet and give me a kiss.
Oh
That was
my.
adorable.
So cute.
Robert interrupts the kiss.
Oh my gosh.
Poor Robert.
So funny. So awkward.
So awkward. I mean, they were kind of acting like children in that scene. And Robert's just wrong place, wrong time.
Oh
goodness.
yeah.
Poor
His
Robert.
face as he was walking away. He was
Yes.
like,
Okay.
I wrote in my notes first Cody and now Robert.
Oh boy.
Because, you know, there were some moments with Jack and Elizabeth where they would go to give each other a kiss and Cody would interrupt them.
oh my God.
I definitely think Robert beats it though.
Yeah. That was a
Yeah,
good one.
Robert beats it. Yeah.
Yes.
I also love Lucas's little oops after Robert walks away. He's like, oops.
Oops.
Lucas bought Lee's motorcycle. Were y'all expecting that?
No. Totally caught me off guard.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I am predicting some type of motorcycle accident coming up.
Mhm.
I hope not.
Get anything? I mean, yeah, like I hope not, but like I can see them using that for drama.
Yeah.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
we never really got it with Lee, and then we didn't get it with. We could have, but we didn't get it with Jesse
Jesse.
when he was on it. You know,
Right.
I feel like
yeah.
that's got to be a storyline coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they would definitely. I mean, we already had a hit and run this season, so why not Lucas get in a motorcycle accident?
Just like, go ahead, hit us with
More drama. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
the cheek kiss was really cute.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like, oh, I bought it. And then, you know, he gives her the kiss and starts to walk away.
I know. He's just like, I'm not even gonna have this conversation. Okay, like I'm just gonna be sweet and walk away. You know.
Yeah.
Bye.
Also, I don't know how this made me think of it, but like when they started talking about Lee and Rosemary, I could envision those four going on double dates.
Oh, I would love to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that for sure.
Yeah. Lee and Rosemary have a conversation in their office. He thanks Rosemary for asking him to be the managing editor. He says he's having a great time. And, you know, before that, Rosemary is asking about the headlines, and he thinks that they're good, especially because their sales have gone up. Rosemary gets a phone call. Then she says that, you know, I'll have to call you back. Lee says, sweetheart, who was that? My confidential source.
Oh, man.
Again with the confidential source.
I know. It's like name names, Rosemary. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, he even asks Rosemary, he's like, you never did tell me their name. Then they wouldn't be confidential.
Rosemary.
Oh.
Then Lee goes to leave
Yeah.
to supposedly help Joseph with something, but
I was not expecting where he goes. I was not.
Oh yeah, me either.
no,
that
was hilarious.
That was fun.
I was about to get to that.
Yeah.
You know, he goes to the mercantile to try to get the deets from Florence.
And I must say, I gotta give props to Florence. You know,
Yes.
I gotta give props to her for, you know, I feel like in the past she would have told him. I mean, of course, we wanted her to tell him,
Yeah.
but I feel like, you know, she's definitely grown a lot, and you know, she knows that
Totally.
that's not right. She a couple seasons ago, there's no way she would have said, "I can't tell you that."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but I gotta say, that was a really good scene. I love what she says.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have it written down. I love how, you know, she's like with her fingers, you know, telling him to like, come closer so she can whisper in his ear. And she says, the name is None of Your Beeswax.
So good. And this was another shot that I loved of like that close up of Lee like crouching down to her level. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably my favorite scene of the episode. I'm sure y'all know what I'm talking about. Nathan and Allie's porch swing conversation.
I've been waiting for 4 seasons.
Oh, I know. Guys, I got teary with this.
I did too.
I know. I will say, I wish they hadn't spoiled it beforehand.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like,
know.
why?
Because it was like the whole scene.
I know, the whole scene. Come on.
I know.
They could have like cut it off before she called him back.
Said it. I know.
Yes.
We got to talk about this whole scene though. So good.
Yes.
Nathan didn't tell Allie about the hit and run until they returned from Rock Creek. I was wondering about this. Like, do you think that he told her or somebody else told her and then, they went to have the conversation? I'm not sure.
That's what I'm wondering. It almost seemed like she found out from somebody else.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was May.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah, May or Faith. I feel like because he didn't tell them not to tell Allie. He told Elizabeth.
Not to tell.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel like she may have heard it in town, and then that's why she all upset at him in that moment about it.
Yeah. I loved how she stood her ground though, because she was like, "This is not fair."
Yeah, I think her line was, "You didn't even say one word until we got back from Rock Creek that you and Newton got hit by a car."
No.
I know. Poor girl.
And then I can't remember Nathan's line after that. I think Nathan said, "I didn't want to worry you." And then Allie says, "I have a right to be worried," or something along those lines. And then
she starts talking about how like he doesn't want to admit that she's old enough.
Yeah.
For a lot of things.
Yeah.
No. Then she says, "Would you maybe consider shaving? You don't like my mustache?"
Thank you, Allie. Yes.
I was hoping it would be Allie who convinced him to do this.
Right. Me too. Out of all the people, the only person who would be able to get him to shave that thing would be his daughter.
Allie.
Yes. And her reasoning was so perfect.
It hides your smile.
Oh my gosh.
That was so sweet. I know. I love that. I love that. I love how he touches it. He's like, oh.
He's like,
yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind some facial hair, but like mustaches, I'm not a big fan of.
I've never been able to do the mustache thing. I just don't like it. I don't know. Yeah. Especially not on Nathan. It just doesn't fit him.
Hides his smile.
Yeah, exactly. It hides his smile. Exactly.
Allie thinks her feelings for Robert may be more than just friends. And then Nathan is giving her encouragement.
Once again, he's definitely trying to encourage them to just be friends in a very kind way, but also very like he doesn't really know what to say kind of way. Yeah. But yeah.
Then she's like, "I don't know, Dad. He didn't even say one word when we got back from Rock Creek."
Clutch your pearls, everyone. So sweet.
Clutch.
Kevin's right when he said that. I love that. Yes. Yeah, and I love how it flowed so naturally too. She was just chatting, like she didn't even think about it. It just flew off the tongue so naturally. And I just love how he just like his look when he heard it. He's like, "Wait, what? Like, what did you just call me?"
Yeah, the facial expression.
Like, yeah, and then she's like, "Dad?" Like she had to think about it too. Like she was like, "Wait, is that okay?" And then and I love what he said.
That's way better than okay.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I was a petal. I was like, "Oh my god!"
Like, oh, finally. I still want to hear him call her his daughter, though.
I do too.
We haven't heard that yet. We haven't heard him say, "Oh, my daughter, Allie." I think we heard him still say niece, but I can't remember if that was before or after. But yeah, I'm ready for him to call her his daughter.
Yeah. Yes.
I love the scene with Joseph and Minnie at the cafe. Minnie is planning on inviting Mr. Landis over for dinner, and she has no idea if it'll help. I loved her line right after that. She says, "I'm hoping to find a way to sit across the table from a man I do not like at all and change his heart and mine."
Wow.
That line just kills.
I know.
Yeah.
So good.
She goes on to say after that, "This dinner's as much about Mr. Landis as it is about me. Try not to be disappointed." And then Joseph's comment of encouragement was really sweet.
Yes. I was like, "Oh, Minnie, he's not going to be disappointed in you."
No.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Anything, he's proud of her.
Yes. I think he said something
Exactly.
like, that couldn't be farther from what I feel about you right now.
Yeah. Aw.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely loved Minnie so much more after the scene. I will say, like, she wasn't my favorite character before, just because, like, she definitely has that, a little bit of a tough exterior.
Yeah.
Understandably so, because we know a little bit about her past and what she's gone through. But
Yeah.
definitely, like, this episode really made me appreciate her so much more. And she also kind of gave me a little bit of an Abigail
Totally.
in this episode. Like, that's something Abigail would have done.
Totally.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Elizabeth and Mr. Landis have a conversation outside the school, and he says that on the next time through, he hopes to have a ruling from the Board of Education on her certification, so that all of that can be put to rest.
Yes.
And then Minnie stops by, or comes over, and she invites Mr. Landis over for dinner with the family. I love Elizabeth's comment. She's like, "Wonderful."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not thrilled at all. Like, she's so like, what?
Uh-huh.
Like,
Mr. Landis's face, like,
he says when she says that, I know, I was like, oh boy.
Oh,
That was not subtle at all.
yeah.
no. Nathan and May sue in the barber shop. Nathan shaves the mustache.
Woo, it's gone.
I was not expecting him to be the one to do it. I mean, I guess it makes sense because, like, Fiona's not there, but why was he in Fiona's shop?
I
Like,
know.
did he
I
not
was
have his own tools? Like,
yes.
I don't know.
Why did he need to do it there? Like, I hope she doesn't mind that he just like went in there and just like.
I know.
I hope not either.
I know.
Oh,
But can I say, the way they shot that scene was so good, and like how he's like covering his face with a towel, and then he removes it, and it was just wow. Like,
yes.
it looked good. Like, I was like, okay, now that's the Nathan I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also, I'm sure that y'all saw it, but the post from Suspenders Unbuttoned. Shout out to y'all.
Oh yeah.
About
yes.
Suspenders Unbuttoned.
Oh yeah, I know. They couldn't resist.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, we're about to see this all over Instagram.
Oh yes.
I feel like they did that just for the fans. Like, just
I know, right? Yeah. I definitely think they did. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit, he looked pretty fun in that scene.
Oh yeah. Yes. That haircut and the shaved. Yep.
Oh
my goodness.
We can mark it off our bingo now. The mustache is gone.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Finally.
I thought May's comment about Allie was really sweet. She says that she's really lovely. And they start talking about her mother, Colleen, and how Allie is becoming more like her every day, strong-willed and opinionated. And May asks about her father, and Nathan says, I never want to talk about him.
It's like, we don't go there.
We don't talk about Dylan.
That, I was just thinking that. That's so perfect.
Yes.
I have not seen that movie, but I know the song a little bit.
Yeah.
Just that one line, I know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I do love how Nathan felt comfortable enough to, bring up Colleen in that moment.
Yeah.
I felt like that, that definitely took a lot for him to be able to mention that. He got very real with May, which I really think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Fiona returns to Hope Valley. I wrote in my notes, looks a lot like the way Elizabeth arrived in season 1, because she was asleep in the wagon, and then she kind of sits up.
Right.
That's a good point. That's funny.
I think the way Elizabeth sat up was almost the same exact way Fiona sat up.
Oh, that's so cool. I'll have to go back and see that. That's awesome.
Just the way like she, quickly sits up.
And it comes to
the way she was laying down, like Fiona, I was like, that does not look comfortable.
I know.
I love how Henry, wakes her up and offers to take her bag. That was really sweet.
Yeah. Oof. We know what's to come between them two.
I have a comment. Fiona says that they need to talk, and Henry says later because of the storm coming, and he wants her to be able to get home safely. I wrote foreshadowing ?
There's a literal, yep, there's a
literal storm coming between them.
Yes. Yep.
I love this next scene with Bill and Hickam as they're walking through town. He tells him that he needs to be unreasonable every once in a while, and that it keeps him from looking like a pushover. Hickam says it's not in his nature.
I know.
Bill's line, no one likes somebody who's nice all the time. People feel like you're trying to pull a fast one. I don't know how to pull a fast one.
Like the sweetest guy in Hope Valley. He's so sweet. Like, there's no way. Like, everybody knows him. They're not gonna think that. Come on, just.
I know. They elected him for a reason, like they trust Hickam. Like, I know, Bill. Oh, he was working my nerve in this episode.
Yeah.
Poor Hickam.
The next scene, Rosemary is alone in the office. Lee had, I guess, already gone home. She finds a poem that he wrote on his desk, and it says, "You to the garden and I to the hills, and though never the twains shall meet, you and I will remain side by side, tete-a-tete, forever, my sweet."
Pretty poem, but
is that actually a poem? I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find it.
Ooh, I don't know.
I feel like, they probably would have, if like Lee was the one who was supposed to write it, I'm pretty sure they probably would have wrote it for him, so they're not stealing someone else.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was like, of course he wrote it for Rosemary. Like, Rosemary, he wants to, surprise you. Like, why is your first thought gonna be that, oh, he wrote it for somebody else? Rosemary, come on.
I know.
Yeah. Oh. I was like, I feel for her though. She's struggling right now. I do feel for her, but I was like, come on, Rosie, come on.
Yes.
This next scene was like a really deep conversation between Elizabeth and Rosemary, but I really loved it. Just how real it was.
Yeah, I was not
realistic. How realistic.
I was expecting them to go where they wanted.
Yeah.
Rosemary's worried that working with Lee at the Valley Voice hasn't been good for their relationship. Rosemary tells Elizabeth about the poem that she found. Elizabeth says, "But you don't think it was meant for you. Wouldn't he have just given it to me?" Rosemary goes on to say that he used to write her poetry, but hasn't done it in a very long time. After that, she says, "Do you think it's possible?" She's starting to express her true feelings, and Elizabeth says no. And then Rosemary says, "Aren't we all vulnerable to an innocent flirtation? Not that Lee would ever act on it, of course. Yes, we are all vulnerable, but love, and in your case, true love, it never strays, not even in the heart."
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines from this episode.
Yeah, it's a good line.
Yeah.
They sit there for a minute, and Rosemary says, "I don't know how little Jack manages to sleep through all of this." Elizabeth says, "I hope it's because he feels safe." Part of me feels like that was some kind of foreshadowing comment.
I agree. Another mention of safety. Oof.
Yeah.
I'm so nervous.
I am too.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Elizabeth tells Rosemary to talk to Lee, and Rosemary doesn't want Lee to know that she's feeling the way she's feeling. The Canfields at home said this is before Mr. Landis shows up. Cooper says that he and Angela don't like him. Minnie says, and that's why we're having him over. And then, Joseph comes in after walking in the rain, looking for Mr. Landis. And, he says that he can't find him anywhere. Cooper says, "Hot dog, he's not coming." And I wrote in my notes, "Cooper."
I know.
With 3 exclamation points.
Oh boy. The way he said that though was so funny. I loved it.
So funny.
And then Angela just kind of like swapped him on the arm. Yeah. Like not helping.
Like, no.
Lucas and Nathan in the saloon. Lucas goes to leave, and Nathan sees him and says, "Mind if I ask you, what's with you and Walden? Not if you don't mind not getting an answer. Okay, here's an easy one. Did I see you on Lee Coulter's motorcycle? Why are you so curious about me all of a sudden? I'm starting a fan club.
And even the bartender laughed at it.
Yeah, that was funny.
Snarky.
Yeah, snarky Nathan.
Of course.
Another favorite scene from this episode is Allie, Faith, and May in the barber shop. There were some really good words of wisdom in this.
I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Allie wants to know when they can put on makeup. Faith says that they don't need it and that they want to bring out and maintain a look all natural. I love Allie's comment. She's like, all natural.
Like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah. May goes on to say, makeup can only imitate what you were born with. I'm sorry Fiona couldn't join us. Allie wants to know how to get Robert to notice her. These next lines are my favorite in this scene. Faith says, that should never be from the outside. Then May says, perfume, rouge, and even something on the lips can be fine. Faith continues and says, but beauty isn't something painted on. Real beauty, the kind that gets you noticed for all the best reasons, that comes from within, from your heart, and by knowing that you're perfect just the way you are. That last little part, Nay, was the one that said that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Such good girl talk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Landis at the Canfields. Now this scene or this time with them kind of, jumps back and forth in the episode, but Joseph lent Mr. Landis some dry clothes. We find out that he has not always been a school inspector. He was a music teacher.
I was very surprised by that.
I was too.
Yeah,
and he offered private lessons.
Right. Can I just say too, when he gets there, I love how he's like, walking in the pouring rain. He's soaking wet. And then he comes and I love how Joseph, offers him dry clothes. And I feel like that could be very symbolic too, that the storm between them is about to be over. Yeah. Because the Canfields are extending their hand to him. He's giving him, in the sense, dry clothes,
Yes.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I love that just clicked in my brain there, like that kind of that connection there of how that's like very symbolic of what's about to take place.
Yeah.
So
totally.
I love
Angela goes to play a song by Beethoven on the piano. And then we see Mr. Landis give her some advice and start playing with her. This was another favorite moment from this episode.
Yeah. At first, I wasn't sure where it's going to go because it seemed like Landis was kind of taken over at first.
Yeah.
It's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a touching scene.
Yeah, I love how Angela handled herself with that and how, ultimately she was the one who was able to, make that change in Landis. And that was really the issue all along. Right. So, I love that. I was like, yeah, way to go, Angela. I love you. You're such a strong girl and just so sweet. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love how she was giving Mr. Landis encouragement. That was really sweet.
Yes, definitely. That was just what he needed too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of her lines was something like, you got it,
Yeah.
Lucas and Elizabeth after dinner at home, and they're talking about the race that is coming up.
Yes.
I loved this scene. Elizabeth thinks Lucas challenged Nathan, but Lucas says Nathan challenged him. Elizabeth's comment, dueling pistols at dawn, that kind of flows really well.
Yeah. That could be a good book title. That could be her next book.
Yeah.
Lucas says, there was so much shouting and carrying on. I'm not exactly sure who challenged who.
Let's see the rest of that scene.
I know.
I can't imagine. Honestly, I can imagine Nathan being the one to say, let's duel it out. I feel like Lucas is the one who wants to prove something with the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Because even when you have the race, Nathan's like, let's get this over with. He does not look thrilled.
Yeah.
Lucas is the one who's ready to go,
Yeah. Lucas says that the race is taking place tomorrow or the following day. I love their next few lines, Elizabeth says, "You on your new motorcycle and Nathan on my horse, since Newton is still recovering. What is this going to prove? Can't it just be for fun?" "Yes, but is it? Or is this meant to demonstrate something to me, or to Nathan, or to yourself? I don't know. I think you're making a little bit much of this. Lucas Bouchard, you have read all about the Lewis and Clark expedition. You are fascinated with the Great Pyramids. Someday you hope to climb Mount Everest. I am not making too much of this. You just bought a motorcycle, for goodness sake. You like a challenge. You're daring. You're adventurous. Then he looks at her and she's like, "What is it? Are you coming to the race? Oh, you can be so frustrating sometimes. You are very, very..."
Pillow fight.
Yes.
Oh boy. He's like not even taking it seriously. It's just like, can you just take this seriously?
I love this scene. Just like the banter between them was adorable.
Yes.
And, her hitting him with the
funny.
pillow, that was so cute.
He just wants to have some fun.
He does.
This next scene with Elizabeth and Minnie, she walks up, and I believe Minnie is like sweeping the steps of the cafe, and she wants to know how the dinner went with Mr. Landis. She says it was wonderful. Elizabeth says, "Minnie, I'm so sorry." And Minnie says, "No, Elizabeth, it was wonderful." And then Elizabeth looks at her like,
yeah.
we get the scene in the saloon. I loved Elizabeth's facial expression as she was watching Mr. Landis play the piano.
I know. I was just as shocked as she was. I was like, whoa.
Whoa. Yeah.
Minnie says, "Would you have ever guessed he was a music teacher?" And she says, "Never, ever." It was a brief moment, but Nathan, Allie, and May's conversation right before the race, they're talking about it, and Allie says, "Word does get around quick here." May kind of leans in and is like, "I've noticed."
Yeah.
Lee and Rosemary's conversation outside their office. This is the scene that we had already seen in one of the preview clips.
This was the first preview, like the big first
I believe this was like the first preview before the premiere.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that's 5 episodes later. Interesting.
Yeah.
This was the one that they picked.
Yeah. Lee says, "Sweetheart, I thought I was covering the race." Rosemary says, "Well, you've been so busy lately. I thought that I would. Is something wrong?" "Well, is there? Would you please come home early tonight?" Oh.
I know.
Okay, the start of the race was hilarious. Hickam goes to
so funny.
Start it, and the cloth that he has in his hand drops on the ground, and they just
yeah.
Lucas took off first. It was Lucas. He just was like, and then Nathan was right at his tail. He was like, okay, let's go.
Hickam's line. He was like, "That's a spirited start."
Yeah.
Allie goes to hang out with Angela and Cooper. Elizabeth and May go to get ice cream. I can see those two being friends.
Totally.
Yeah. Faith and Fiona's conversation. Fiona tells her that she thinks she closed the oil deal. And Fiona isn't really interested in watching the race and offers for Faith to try a new hairstyle, which we'll see later on in the episode, or we do see, since the episode has already aired.
Yes.
Mr. Landis and Elizabeth have a conversation outside the soda fountain. He doesn't know yet, but he's considering a return to teaching music. He left the uncertain world of offering lessons for steady employment, but being a bureaucrat, he says, "I just don't like what I have to be." Mr. Landis says, "Teaching may not pay very well and shamefully probably never will. But I've been reminded just how much my passion means to me, thanks to the Canfields and to you." That was a really good moment between them.
It's a really nice moment.
I think we underestimated Mr. Landis.
Yes. Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, we all have our moments. Moments. Like you said, the job kind of made him that way.
Yeah.
And the fact that he doesn't want to be that way is
nice.
He has a good heart. He does.
Yeah.
He was just led astray a little bit.
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Now let's hope that he can get Elizabeth's stuff squared away before he leaves, his job.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I don't know if it's just me, but I kind of would like to see him return and like be a music teacher in Hope Valley.
That would be interesting.
It would be interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And the guy that plays Mr. Landis does a phenomenal job in that role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I loved how Henry gave Cooper, Angela, and Allie money to buy ice cream. That was so sweet.
That was.
I was like, wow, Henry, like that was so nice.
I know.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Ned gives Henry a telegram. He doesn't look too pleased as he's walking away.
Oh.
The storms are coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Lucas's motorcycle broke down and Nathan stops to offer help. I love Nathan's comment. He's like, "Do you want to ride back to town?" And Lucas is like, "I'm fine, thank you."
Oh, he would be so embarrassed if that happened.
I know. His pride was hurt a little bit.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Of course, Nathan wins the race.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Allie's comment. I didn't write it down, but she said something along the lines of
something about her dad.
Yeah,
she's
not underestimating her dad.
Yeah.
She said it like in front of like a group of people. I was like,
yay.
Elizabeth walks up to Nathan and says, "Congratulations." She wants to know if Lucas is all right. Mm-hmm. And Nathan says yes, that he is. Mm-hmm. And then Elizabeth says, "And on his way here." Eventually, yeah.
He's got a long walk ahead of him.
Can we talk about Sergeant's bow? Really?
Yes.
I was not expecting that. I was like, what?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Nathan asks Elizabeth, "Who taught Sergeant how to bow like that?" Elizabeth says, "Jack."
Oh, so great.
My heart.
I know.
And then, she addresses Sergeant, as she's, I guess, rubbing his head or something. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Isn't that right?"
Aww.
I love the mentions of Jack, or just like the little pieces of Jack that we got in this episode.
Yeah.
Faith and Fiona in the barber shop. Faith gets a new hairstyle. I thought it looks really good on her.
It was so pretty. I loved it.
Yeah. It's really pretty.
It really suited her.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting like a cut. Like, they're about to enter the 20s and like the flapper girls had like, like short bobs.
Yeah. Henry comes in and the storm is here.
Here it is.
Oh boy.
He found out that she went to San Francisco to speak to Jerome Smith and his investors from the telegram. Henry says that Fiona convinced Smith to buy out Lucas. Henry's not happy about that at all.
Nope.
Jerome gave Fiona a banker's note for 10% with an option for the rest. Then Henry goes on to say, I think there was another line from Fiona, and then Henry says, "And that makes it our obligation to go through with the deal. Isn't that what we all wanted? I've been trying to stall so that we could find out what Smith was up to. You and I and Lucas were to maintain a united front. Well, you have a lousy way of showing that. You disappeared for weeks, then roared back in here and got yourself thrown in jail for assault."
Whoa, Fiona.
It was like,
oh,
girl.
Oof.
Oh, boy.
That argument took a turn.
I know. I was like, girl, like, what is going on?
I know.
Like, I love Fiona, but what are you doing?
I know.
Yeah. After Henry leaves, even she says, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?"
Mm-hmm. Yikes.
Big yikes.
Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, it's about to get real.
Yeah. Bill has a conversation with Hickam in his office. And, before Hickam comes in, he sees him talking to Wyman. I wrote, "What is that about?"
Yeah.
Bill tells Hickam it doesn't look good for him or Lucas to be talking to Wyman, or as he says, Walden. He says Walden's a snake, and if you mess with him, you're going to get bitten. Then Hickam starts to walk away, and Bill continues by saying, "Hickam, I know this isn't easy for you, but you're going to start taking heat for all sorts of reasons, and you may even lose some friends. Just know that I'm here for you.
Oh, part of me is kind of glad that he said that at the end, because if he would have just let him walk out without saying anything like that, that would have been so irritating.
I know, because he paused too. It like sounded like, like he was just gonna leave it there. It was like, Bill.
Yes, I know.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah.
And then he added that. I was like, okay, you redeemed yourself a little there.
Yeah,
like,
little bit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna have this conversation with Hickam, you could do it in a lot softer way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know. Lay off Hickam.
I know.
I know.
I feel so bad.
I do too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
We get to another favorite scene of mine in the episode. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Lee and Rosemary.
Yes.
Lee tells her they need to make more time for themselves outside of work, to spend together. And Rosemary says, "You're not tired of us spending time together?" Lee says, "No. Are you kidding me? No. Wait, why? Are you?" Rosemary's like, no, not for a moment. Joseph has been teaching Lee a trick or two with the woodworking kit he got from Rosemary. That's where he's been disappearing on his walks. The next thing I have in my notes is, who else thought what Lee built was a cradle?
I did. Yes. I said it to
definitely
Josh.
made it look like that. Yeah.
Yes. I was like, oh my gosh, did he just make a cradle? Josh was like, he wouldn't dare. I was like, I don't know. It looks like one. I'm glad you guys thought the same thing, because I was like, that really looks like one.
Yeah, I wrote
the intent, honestly.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like foreshadowing another.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I wrote jumping the gun, Lee.
I know. Oh man. Ooh.
Oh my gosh. He built them lawn chairs. I guess that's what they're called.
Yeah.
They kind of look like chairs. But
I don't know what you would call it, because they're like connected. I love what he did. I love the way he did that.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Lee knows she likes to look at the garden, and he likes to look at the hills. Then they start reciting the poem.
Yeah.
One of the best lines in this episode, Rosemary says, "You wrote it for me," and Lee says, "Of course I did, because I love you."
Oh.
And I love how she has like her hand on his arm, because like the armrests are like connected.
Yeah.
They're looking in opposite directions. I love that. And then the "just forever my sweet" line. Oh,
I know.
I love it.
They're my faves.
All the feels. They're mine too. I love them.
We get to the last scene of the episode. Another favorite scene. I have to say, Lucas is winning me over this season.
Definitely. I love Lucas this season. I do. I love him this season.
I have to say, I'm starting to really like them as a couple.
Oh, yay!
Even though of course I wanted Nathan, in the beginning. After watching this season, I'm starting to really like them as a couple.
That's good. I guess that means that the writers are doing a good job, because they're trying to, make everyone like, hey, this is
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, this last scene was, and I was expecting it, because I don't know if you saw the tweet from Brian.
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
I mentioned something big happening, so I was just kind of like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Her clapping for him, that was really sweet.
Yeah. I didn't notice it on my first go around, but then I did. You can barely kind of tell.
You can barely see it.
Yeah, you can barely see it. It's just for a second.
Yeah, nice little touch.
Yeah. He walks up and they give each other a kiss, and Elizabeth tells him that if he hadn't returned within the next few minutes, she would have had to return home to little Jack, because, Laura has to get home. He admits that he does like adventure. Lucas moved around a lot when he was younger, which we already knew from, past seasons, especially last season when Helen came to town. Speaking of Helen, Lucas mentions her in this scene, and he says, "When my mother was here, she remarked that I've never stayed in one place for such a long time, but you're the reason I stay. You are my adventure. You are my passion. And if we should marry, I will hurry home to you every night, and I will have to pull myself from you every morning. That I promise. Elizabeth says, and should we marry, I would hurry home to you every night and have to pull myself away from you every morning. That I promise.
I was not expecting that dialogue though.
Me either.
I knew something was coming, but I was not expecting those words.
I literally gasped. I was like,
yeah.
Is he about to propose?
He said the M word, and I was like, whoa.
What is going on?
I'm starting to think there's going to be a proposal at the end of the season.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about it before, but yeah.
Yeah,
finale, I'm thinking,
This sounded like vows. Like
it did.
I promise. Woo.
Yeah. Like,
mm-hmm.
whoa.
I thought the second kiss was really sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very swoon worthy.
Yes. Can we talk about the preview for next week? Things are getting interesting.
Oh boy. The mine is coming back.
Yep. Because of Jerome and his associates.
Man. Was not expecting that at all.
Oh my. I mean, we did see that little sneak preview of like, Henry outside the mine looking in, but like a whole storyline thing.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Oh boy.
Ooh.
Fiona says, I know I bear some responsibility. And then it cuts to a scene with Lucas and Henry and Bill in Bill's office. And Lucas says, is there any step we can take to remove the possibility? Bill says, for the sake of this town, there's to be no talk of this outside my office. Understood. Then it cuts to Elizabeth and Lucas in the saloon. And he says, my life is upside down. I wish you knew how much it meant to me just to be here with you.
Oh, man.
Things are getting interesting.
For sure. I'm excited and nervous at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah. Kristen, did you want to give your message to the Hardys before we wrap up?
Yes, I should have done this at the beginning. I don't want to end it on a sad note.
I know.
Oh, yes. So I wanted to share a little bit of news with the listeners. A few weeks ago, I had to step back a little from the podcast. Like my schedule just kind of got turned upside down and life, personal things kind of happened. And unfortunately, I had to come to the difficult decision to step away from my position as co-host of the podcast. But this is not a goodbye. It's a see you later, because I hope to come on in the future as a guest and recap. Of course, I love Hallmark and I love When Calls the Heart. I love all of it. So still going to be watching and all the fun things. But I want to say thank you to the listeners. Our podcast is almost a year old now. I think I joined back in October. So we just had so much fun. Thank you, listeners, for your support and your encouragement and friendship. And most importantly, thank you, Nicole and Hannah, for having me on. You are just so amazing. You both are so talented and sweet and creative. And I've just had so much fun recording with you guys. I'm going to miss you both. But
miss you too.
Know where to find me. We'll still text each other. And message each other.
Of course. Yes, all the time. We've had a blast having you on as co-host. We love you, and we're so excited to have you back for some recaps, hopefully in the near future. You're always welcome here.
Yes.
We love you.
Yes, we love you. Love you guys too.
All right, Hardys. I think that wraps up our recap of episode 4, Straight from the Heart, and episode 5, Journey into Light. We will be back next week to recap episode 6, Past, Present, Future. I can't believe we're already halfway through the season.
Woo!
I know. Crazy.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time. We love y'all. Bye.
Bye, Hardy.